Hey, what's up, guys? Rogue Macro back here with another one. Thanks for joining me. Hope you guys are doing well wherever you are in the world. Check out roguemacro.substack.com. That's where you find all my writings. I try to write on things that at least touch on macroeconomics and trying to set ourselves up to thrive in the future and understand where we are in the world right now to properly orient ourselves in the world. But that's what you'll find over there at Rogue Macro. Very contrarian, very unique content. And pride myself on connecting a lot of dots in a unique way, being very early to many calls, years early in many cases. But yeah, check out roguemacro.substack.com. All right. Let's get into this piece that I wrote yesterday. It is on the impossibility of communism. Whenever you're discussing macroeconomic ideas, it seems to a lot of things center around socialism versus capitalism. And that it's really just a tiresome conversation at this point. Socialism is in the process or heading towards communism. And communism is just a reversed way of thinking about the world. So it's a philosophical basis. And they turn it on their head. So they turn the philosophy of humanity on its head. And we're going to get into all that. It's a very old idea. It goes back thousands of years. It might be the original problem, the original social problem for humanity. And we'll dive into that. So let's go into this a little bit here. Communism presents itself as an economic theory, but it's just the economic expression of a much deeper philosophical claim. It assumes society has no natural structure, no natural order of things, that everything meaningful is socially constructed, that hierarchy is inherently illegitimate and reducible to power, and that differences between people are not real. They're just artifacts of oppression. Within this worldview, the communist worldview, unequal outcomes cannot be the results of trade-offs, constraints, temperament, ability, or choice. They must be the product of injustice. And if injustice is imposed, then justice must be imposed back. Equity, not equality, becomes the moral demand, and coercion becomes a duty. Discussions with communists or socialists become tiresome because just underneath the thinnest veil of policy disagreement, there's the implicit threat of violence to you, your family, or your countrymen. If you disagree, you are not merely mistaken, you're defending oppression, and violence is justified against you. This is why leftist violence is, all political violence, almost all political violence is leftist violence. The Summer of Love, assassinations, all that stuff, almost wholly a leftist problem because it's justified against you, because you are seen as oppressor, or at least friendly to the oppressors. It's a messed up ideology. History shows exactly what happens when communists seize power to impose justice. Everyone becomes equal in front of a firing squad. These outcomes are a direct result of imposing unnatural ontology on the world. I call it a false ontological flattening, the roots. So this is not a new idea. I'm not coming up with something wholly new or anything like that. Eric Voegelin, he wrote last century extensively on this topic, that Marxism and similar modern ideologies are forms of secularized Gnosticism. And when I ran across this idea for the first time, I was like, whoa, that explains a lot. There is extreme parallels between a lot of this Gnostic thought and communism. So it's just like I say up here, it's just the economic expression of a much deeper claim. All right. But of course, another person that learned a lot from Eric Voegelin and that has taught a lot to me is James Lindsay of New Discourses. I recommend checking out his stuff if you haven't yet. But this has a Gnostic type of movement, is very, very convincing and matches very, very well. Okay, but he's not the only one. This has been in philosophy and theology and even scripture for thousands of years. And they're turning politics into a substitute religion. So we could go through all these, but some heavyweights here. Karl Popper, he criticized Marxism as historicism. And so coercion in pursuit of perfection. Friedrich Hayek, he said, Socialism is impossible because of the information problem. And he called this the fatal conceit, that they thought that they could shape man, shape the economy, which is what they think they can do. Friedrich Nietzsche wrote about this type of stuff going back before Marx. Okay, this way predates Marx. David Hume, by 100 years, Hume rejected utopian political schemes as expressions of rationalist arrogance that ignore stable human nature, tradition, and limits of abstract reason. So ignore stable human nature. You can't just try to design a society against human nature, because human nature will always reassert itself. And what do you do to stop that? Well, the iron fist of the communist has to come down on you. Thomas Hobbes, Thomas Aquinas. So these are getting into theological stuff going way back. Aquinas talked about a proper hierarchy and order, and when that's denied in the name of false equality or will, you get evil coming out of that. Augustine of Hippo described utopian disorder as disordered loves, where lower goods are elevated above higher ones, causing power to replace truth. That's exactly what we see here. Aristotle wrote about the right order of things. Plato warned about society's decay when opinion replaces knowledge, and when those ignorant of reality attempt to impose idealized visions of justice on the world. And the big one for me, you can find this at several places in the Bible talking about this sort of disorder, but the serpent is the killer one to me. From Genesis 3, very, very, very early, we're talking about the serpent trying to reframe divine order. Okay, saying you are oppressed. You are oppressed. God is the oppressor. If you eat, he's trying to keep this hidden knowledge from you, but if you eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, you can become like God yourself. And so this is the archetype of the Gnostic rebellion. It's got very deep roots. It's very well known around the world and in history, this Gnostic heresy. And it all goes back to the serpent in the Garden of Eden. And you can see it directly maps onto the oppressor-oppressed ideology of today in communism. Cultural Marxism, whichever one you want to talk about today, all of these movements are Gnostic heresies. All right, why does it escalate? Once you deny natural order, power becomes the only remaining tool. There is no neutral ground. Any structure that persists must be explained as domination, and any resistance must be interpreted as moral failure. This is why communism cannot stabilize. Every time reality contradicts the theory does not revise, it escalates. Any real differentiation must be destroyed. Families must be weakened. Informal hierarchies must be dismantled. Speech must be controlled. Education must be re-engineered. Outcomes must be equalized. And when these measures fail, as they will inevitably do, the answer is just more force. Double down. This is the actual dialectic engine of communism. Contradictions are negated to form a new synthesis. So you have theory and reality. They contradict each other. So that you have to smash them together and destroy the old and create a new synthesized reality. Now, this new synthesized reality immediately generates new contradictions because it's not exactly like reality. It is a false reality. And so then you have to smash them back together again and destroy. They think this is the cycle, the stair step towards progress in communism, utopia, whatever nirvana, whatever thing you want to put in here, heaven. They think it's, the next step on the road. Destroy, build back better. Build back better is a specific communist line, mantra. That is what they're trying to do. They're trying to destroy and build back better. Stair step. Really, in reality, they're stepping down into hell through all of this destruction. But they don't see it that way. They think they're moving forward. A worldview that treats reality as unjust cannot tolerate evidence. So a worldview that treats reality as unjust. So if you have evidence, like real world evidence, that evidence is unjust and it cannot be tolerated. A system that denies differentiation must criminalize it. failure is externalized, more and more people are exterminated or sent to the gulags. They cannot deal with actual reality and actual evidence. That stuff is demonized. And if you are the one doing it, you are demonized and you are exterminated or sent to the gulags. They are fighting human nature itself. And they know it's a battle they can't win. They know exactly that they can't win it. And that's not the point. The dialectic engine is not to win. It is to destroy and build back better. Get rid of the chaff. We have to destroy this to get rid of the chaff to build back better. That is the whole point. They know they're going to lose the battle. They want to destroy you. Instead of the broken window fallacy, this is a broken skull fallacy. So broken window fallacy is that if you break the window, it actually increases GDP because it increases circulation of money. You have to buy a new window. That window maker buys new shoes. The shoemaker buys bread. So there's more economic activity because somebody broke the window. And they think that there is advancement towards communism because you broke a few skulls. So they have the broken skull fallacy. Reality has structure. It produces difference. It imposes limits and rewards competence unevenly and distributes burdens unfairly. The world is unfair, but that is reality. No, let's make everybody, we can't live with the unfairness of the world. That's not the true state of the world. The true state of the world is fairness and everybody's equal. And we have to impose that. And how do we get there? We get there by breaking some skulls. No ideology can abolish these facts. They reassert themselves precisely because they are real. There are differences between people. If you want to cut to the heart of the issue early on in any discussion with a communist or socialist, you say, why don't you believe your own eyes? I mean, I could have tightened this up a little bit, but why don't you believe your own eyes? People are not indistinguishable. The quality of outcome only exists through brute force. This idea is ancient. Your ideology is ancient. You are not liberating humanity. We've been down this path painfully many, many times. What you are doing is you are going to destroy and overthrow the order for the sake of your false reality. Not for the sake that our reality is false, that reality is somehow bad or false. Your false ontology is the reason for the destruction. Communism fails because it begins with a false picture of the world. And when the system wages war on reality, reality always wins. All right, guys, that's it for today. Make sure you check out roguemacro.substack.com. Like, comment, subscribe to the YouTube or wherever. You can follow me on Twitter as well at roguemacro_. And that's going to be it for today. Have a good one. Bye.